Hello, 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 everyone. It's LaSteiner Inspires with your day 3 of 21 days of facing your fears with faith. If you don't know who I am, let me reintroduce myself. My name is LaSteiner Inspires. I am an award-winning author. I am an inspirational speaker. I am a healing and recovery accountability expert, and I'm also the creator and founder of Healing is a Journey, a quarterly series of conferences designed to help individuals who have suffered trauma and abuse learn how to start the healing process and start living their greatest and best life. So thank you for tuning in today. If you have not caught up on day 1 and day 2, please do so. You can do that on both of my YouTube channels, LaSteiner Inspires or What Rebel Inspired. I will make sure that I drop the link as well, so you can just click on the link and go there to catch up. So today, day 3, we are talking about fear of failure. Yes, we are talking about fear of failure. And so, as you may know, that anything that I talk about, I try to be as transparent and authentic as possible, because I feel like the only way that you can really reach individuals and help them is if they can relate to you. And so a lot of the fears that I'm touching on, I have experienced, I still process through them. And one of those is fear of failure. Very real for me. As with most individuals, the reason people oftentimes don't even try to step out of their comfort zone is due to this fear of failure. We let this fear fill us with excuses of things that might happen, could happen, unseen scenarios that may never happen. And so it oftentimes stops us from knowing our full potential, living our greatest life, and even knowing if whatever we were trying to do would have actually succeeded. And so I have, as usual, three tips or 3 pointers to help you along this process. But first, I wanted to just be very, 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 very transparent. So as you heard me mention in my list of things of who I am, it has not been easy to verbalize those different things. Like, for instance, when I published my first book, I was like, who wants to read my story? Oh my God, the world's going to know about it. What if it doesn't sell? I had a whole lot of excuses, which was associated with the fear of failure. Being an inspirational speaker was something that I struggled with, because I was, if you follow me, I talk very openly about stuttering and how I would feel ashamed of speaking because of my stuttering. Now I just do it, and I'm like, okay, either you're gonna get the message or you're not, but at the end of the day, I'm gonna be obedient and I'm gonna press forward. And so that has allowed me to speak at different platforms that I would have never been able to do had I just not been obedient and faced that fear of failure and just did it by faith. And so that is my transparent moment associated with this. Do I still struggle with the fear of failure? Yes, I do. But how do I overcome it? By facing it with that faith, knowing that if God has given me the idea, the tools to do something, He's going to make sure I see it through. And so one of the most recent areas of my life where I was facing this fear of failure is when God brought it upon my heart to create this conference. My initial idea of thought concept behind the conference was a one-time event for last year actually. And God was like, no, I need you to go bigger. And so I'm like, okay. And so in planning it, I was like, what if it doesn't work out? What if no one attends? So there you have it, one of those what ifs, possibilities that actually didn't happen. The first conference was like amazing, and I would have not known that had I not been obedient and faced that fear head on with the faith, knowing that if God had told me to do it, He'll make sure that it happens the way He had planned it. And so, did things occur? Did disappointments happen? Yes. As with anything in life, you will come across disappointments. You will come across things that you have to reset, changes that you may not have thought about, but it does not mean that you have failed. It just means you have to go back to the drawing board and try again. And so, but the biggest thing I want you to take away from this is that the biggest failure that happens is when you don't even try. That really is a failure. There's no failure and if you tried and it did not work out the way you had intended it, but there is something to be said about if you don't try it out, because then how would you know how it could have turned out if you've never tried. And a lot of times when we try things and it doesn't go the way we intended, what it does is it plants a seed in us to say, well, okay, it didn't happen this way, but if I try it this way, then it could possibly be even better or greater. And so that sets up resilience in us to want to do more. But we don't oftentimes allow that resilience to be built up in us because we are so afraid of failing. And so I say today, do not be afraid of failing. The scripture that I want to tie this all together with comes from Romans 8:28, and it says, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those that love God and are called according to his purpose for them. We are all his children. So even if things do not seem like they're working out the way you had planned, we don't know God's every detail of the plan he has for our lives. We just know that if we follow him and we're obedient, it will work out for our good according to his plan and purpose for our life. And oftentimes that plan and purpose is way greater and way bigger than anything we could have ever imagined. So the 3 steps or the 3 tips that I want to provide for you to be able to face this fear of failure head on. First of all, for every possible scenario you can think of that could possibly go wrong, redirect your thought process so it could possibly go right. For instance, if you have an event that you're planning and you're like, well, what if no one shows up? But what if they do? You want to treat everything you do with excellency. So if only one person shows up to the event, that does not mean that you're a failure. You treat that one person with what they need to hear, because maybe that's the only person God wanted to be there in that moment to get all of what you have for them. And that one person can pass that message on to 10 more people. So you never know what the plan of God is until you actually step forward and do what he's asked you to do. Number 2, create a list of things you want to do and are afraid of trying. When you create a list of things, it starts to give you some accountability, because now you're like, I have this list of things that I want to do, but I'm afraid of it. Share that list with someone that can hold you accountable. And number 3 ties in with number 2, which is then make every effort to do what's on that list step by step. That's the only way you can face your fear of failure head on, is taking the action step.